I guess my question is really around COVID infection, and it's just were you or your family, obviously you were directly affected, but did you experience effects in terms of severe infections or loss, either of you or family members or close friends? And if so, how did you cope with that?
Definitely in our immediate family, even though we did all get COVID at one point, no severe infection, no hospitalization, anything like that. My husband and my older daughter caught it in January. I was out of town. I was running a race out of town, and he called me and said he got COVID. And so luckily the race was over, but I flew home early and cut the rest of my trip short to come help take care of them. But was luckily for him, it was like the flu. And for our daughter, she had almost no symptoms. He had worked with for almost 10 years, passed away the day before Christmas Eve from COVID. He had been in the ICU on a ventilator for several weeks, and seemed like things were getting better, but they had started to wean him off the ventilator and he took a sudden turn. It was very difficult on him through the holiday season. I think he connected as much as he could with his coworkers to remember their friend, but there's nothing that makes that easier. Losing a friend who is, I think he was 41 or 42 years old and otherwise perfectly healthy.
Both my partner and our now 2-year-old also had COVID. And so luckily for us, it was the variant. And so it was more of like, I would say cold-like symptoms. So just the runny nose, a fever for less than a 24-hour period kind of thing. So as far as the severity of that, it was very mild. It was like having, pretty much cold running rampant in your house. The baby and I did isolate completely. So we were in the master bedroom, just to ensure that he was almost 3 months. He wasn't even 3 months at the time. And so just to ensure that the baby wouldn't get it. And I had to be super, super careful because I was still nursing. So I would leave, go nurse our daughter, and then, wiping myself down, making sure that I'm not passing it to the baby. And so I think that was a little challenging.
My toddler brought COVID home from daycare. So we had actually avoided sending him for all of January during the Omicron surge. My husband and I tag teamed our work schedules. And then the week we sent him back in February because we couldn't keep up the working full-time jobs and having a child at home, we got COVID that week. My toddler was really sick and I did not feel well the first several days. But I think honestly, the worst part of having COVID when I was pregnant was the fear. Like Angela was saying, I was trolling the internet for any information possible with COVID and pregnancy and just COVID in general. How long am I going to have this for? What are the symptoms? On what day should I feel what? I was on deep Reddit threads. I was trying to read any paper I could find, but as Angela was saying as well, the papers that were out there were from the Delta time, and that was super scary to read when you're pregnant. And then also the few data papers that were out there, the studies were for non-vaccinated patients. And I was very thankful to have had my booster in December. So it was a relatively recent boost.